Let us rejoice is the thought. This weekend I was privileged to speak at a memorial service for a friend of mine who died named Blaze Bonpain. And he was 90 years old, and he was kind of a famous peace activist in Los Angeles. A lot of places the church was packed. He was much beloved. He and I many times got arrested together, protesting civil disobedience, sitting in front of the federal building, protesting wars and injustice and immigration policy. The thing I remember most about him was how joyful he was when we were in the holding tank. Everybody else sort of had a, I don't know, kind of an edge of anxiety or something. But never him. He was always gleeful. He was like positively giddy, which always reminded me of the poet who says of poetry, if it ain't a pleasure, it ain't a poem. And that's sort of how Blaze lived his life. Well, his son got up and was talking about his last words to him, and he was on his deathbed in the hospital in great pain and in and out of consciousness. And the son, as people do, you know, kind of say, what's the meaning of life, kind of. And Blaze could barely speak, but he eked out this word, exultet, he says. And then he translates for his son from the Latin. He says, let us rejoice. And he was a man who didn't settle for happiness when he knew he could have joy. Way better, way better. So it's not about good times and bad times, it's about joy in all times. And that was something certainly he taught me. We came back, the 12 of us, from our retreat, men's retreat up in Los Altos. And as always almost happens, on the first night, you know, a group will go and kind of walk around the property. Well, it's very dark. There are no lights. It's only the moonlight and the stars, which isn't very much light. And so they're walking, and the great Lawrence and the great Terry realized that Cisco was left behind, that he wasn't able to keep up because it's climbing up a hill, and you know, and that's a challenge for Cisco given his injuries. And so the two of them yell at the folks ahead and said, we're going to go back for Cisco. And they start to walk in the darkness back to find him somewhere. And Terry says to Lawrence, gosh, you know, what if we're in a scary movie? You know, because the black guys always get killed first, you know. And they laughed and said, well, we're going to continue on our search and rescue mission. And so they can't see anything, and they're going back and they yell out his name. Finally, Cisco hears it, and Cisco says, please state your name, he yells, because he thinks he may be in a scary movie. And in fact, it's Jason with a mask who's asking, you know, so. And we just laughed about this for the rest of the retreat, and sort of rejoiced in people going back for each other. That in the spite of all the things that we carry, we can still find the joy in going back for people. And so we want to be anchored in this possibility of rejoicing. We want to become the poem, or if it ain't a pleasure, it ain't a poem. And why would we settle for happiness when we could have joy? So today, let us rejoice.